Daydream believer and a homecoming queen. I don't think you ever guessed that we'd intro this show by singing up
I didn't even know we were recording.
But come to find out, Jay is a massive Monkees fan. I did not know that.
I used to watch the show a lot.
I'm sure you did, which, again, another layer of onion I had no idea existed. Either way, my name is Mike the Intern. That is Jay Bananas, and this is Dark Side of the Stream, episode 183. This week, I believe, was Jay's pick. Was this your pick or my pick?
Well, what are we doing? Tell me the name of the movie. And
the program.
Yes, that's my pick.
Okay, cool. The program on Netflix, which right out of the gate, Jay, I thought I made it clear to you after we did Quiet on the Set.
And now
I didn't want to do any more kid stuff, and literally right out of the gate, he's like, "All right, next one is about this school." And I'm like, okay.
Because I watched this a long time ago, and I keep forgetting. It kept getting looped. I kept forgetting about it. So I'm like, I got to get this off my plate.
Sure, give me at least a month.
But this one's interesting, though, because they went in there, and everything is still there. All the records, like, who dropped the ball there on the program?
Well, it's a bigger picture. It wasn't just the Academy at Ivy Ridge, and we'll get into that in a second, but that's largely about what this documentary focuses on. The program, it's Cons, Cults, and Kidnapping on Netflix, and it documented the conditions at this facility, the Academy at Ivy Ridge, and the lasting impact it's had on the people that had to go through that. You know, I was watching this thinking about if you were a parent that was dealing with a child that wasn't listening to you and throwing stuff at you and sneaking out, stealing, like real bad stuff. Sit them down and make them watch this and say, that's where you're going.
Right. You see this and you're
I feel like that's like Scared Straight.
You watch this, you're like, hey, like, you kid, you got it good.
You want to sleep?
You got it good, kid.
Imagine a place that we're going to send you to where there's a possibility the mattress you're sleeping on is in a hallway. You can't look outside at all until you get to this level of obedience. That's
very
like,
weird, man. It's like the worst jail known to man.
Very, very cultish. Especially when you start talking about levels and stuff and obedience and all this stuff. I know that there has to be a form of discipline when it comes to raising kids and educating them, but when you start throwing in levels and crap like that, I'm like, when
you drop your kids off and say, cool, peace out, I'll see you in 6 months, you know, that's not a good parenting tactic.
Well, unless, I mean,
I don't think there's
I get the point where it's like we can't do anything. Like it's either this kid is going to get in the system and they're going to go into, you know, the legal system when they turn 18. We need to stop it. And at a certain point, I think parents don't have any other options. I'm not saying that it's the right one. I'm just saying I can understand where you get to a point where you feel like this might work. But parents, if you're listening and you feel like your kids are crazy and you need to do something about them, you should probably also watch this documentary as a cautionary tale.
Investigate.
Do a little
research.
Due diligence when it comes to where you're sending your kid. And we'll talk about that next. Dark Side of the Stream on 104.7 The Cave. Mike the Intern, Jay Stevens back in the studio discussing the program, Cons and Cults and Kidnapping on Netflix. Now, it focuses largely in part on a place called Academy at Ivy Ridge. But beyond that, this was a school that was part of an affiliation with what they called the Worldwide Association of Specialty Programs in Schools.
What a scam. What a scam this is.
If you have an acronym that spells out WASP in your name,
what a scam.
I'm not saying that it's a bad thing, but at the same time, you might not want to go by that acronym because as soon as I hear WASP, I'm either thinking about the band or I'm thinking about something that's going to sting me. I need to go kill. So,
not too far from it.
If you go down and you actually Wikipedia this, at one point, they had, let's see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 21, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 26 schools in operation.
And none of them were accredited or registered.
Some of them were kind of, but a lot of them not.
Yeah.
But almost every one of these schools now is out of operation with the exception of one still operating in Mexico, Sunset Bay Academy. So if you ever get told, hey, I'm sending your kid to Sunset Bay in Mexico, you might want to watch the program as well so you can see about what this organization
I found a fun thing to do with these documentaries, with these ones that are about like weird subjects and kind of one-offs. If you do a little bit of Googling, like where are they now type stuff, man, dude, I found some cool stuff. One of these teachers that was a bad dude after this documentary came out, he ended up getting fired from his job. He's like in construction, like so. Yeah, they were like, "Oh, you're out of here, bro. We're not
Never gonna work again."
No,
man.
some of these documentaries do some good, I think, in making things right. At least,
actually, I think they're still looking into as far as recently there has been calls for more investigation.
Yeah,
prosecution.
I believe it because of this.
Of the former resident overseer Amy Ritchie. That's definitely part of what happened. Also, George Tulip and the founder, Robert Litchfield, all going to probably be investigated because of this documentary.
Well, these kids that made this documentary too, they were slick with like showing up at the karaoke where the dude was at. Like they
knew.
It was wild, man. It was wild stuff.
If you went through something like this, and
I would say vengeance.
You wanted the playing field to be even. Now you're an adult. It's like, you can't tell me how to do this now. I'm just like you, and I'm going to give you exactly what you gave me.
Yeah.
Does that make it right? I don't know. Hopefully some of these kids are getting therapy too.
For what she went through, the main girl of this one seems for what she went through, she seems pretty good head on her shoulders for what she's gone through.
Yeah, especially when you hear about what some of these kids had to go through. And we'll talk about that a little bit next. Dark Side of the Stream on 104.7 The Cave. Mike the Intern, Jay Stevens, back in the studio discussing the program on Netflix. So this school academy at Ivy Ridge began admitting students in 2001. As of spring of 2005, they had almost 500 students enrolled. So pretty quick turnaround for them. But the question I would like to ask is, when you hear about riots, usually they happen in prison, right? You hear about the inmates, the conditions that they get. They don't like it.
This place was like a prison.
They riot. This school that had children in it rioted.
Dude,
no less than 4 years after they opened their doors. So how bad do you think it actually had to be for a bunch of teenage kids who literally know that eventually they are going to get out of here? They riot together.
Good.
It's unbelievable.
So good.
They actually had to get the sheriff's deputies, state troopers, city police officers, and border patrol to come in and get this. And then they actually had 30 runaways leave after this thing. It just blows my mind. This was all part of this, I guess, was part of a large group of people that were in another school that was part of WWASPS, WASPs, if that's how you say it, Casa by the Sea. The actual director at that school was the one who came over and worked at Academy and Ivy League. After he screwed that one, they're like, well, this guy's great. Let's bring him over here. So they bring in more kids that had already been in this other place that was horrible, and they bring them here, and they're like, hey, I'm sure a bunch of the kids that were walking around scared to death met these dudes and were like, oh, so you're saying we can fight back? Well, hell yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it.
So again, inevitably, almost all of these schools are closed now, which thank God.
But they just pop up new ones.
But again, crazy. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, it's kind of the same thing of like privatized prisons, you know?
Yeah.
When you start making money, healthcare too.
Yeah.
When there's money to be made,
there's scams to be had,
up, or your kids aren't good, or you're sick. I guarantee you, there's some bad actors in that thing that are going to try and make as much money off of that as they possibly can. See, also the medical industry, insurance industry.
Yeah.
I mean, we can sit here and talk about it on
terrible.
Anytime there can be someone exploited and money to be made, unfortunately, in the capitalist world, that is something that exists. And we will give this our reviews next. Dark Side of the Stream on 104.7 The Cave. Mike the Intern, Jay Bananas in the studio, making each other giggle in between our conversation.
We have to laugh
because Jay once again picked an awful documentary.
I had to get it off my chest.
So how how would you rate this documentary?
What
my
are we
friend?
doing? Merit system? Or,
Yeah, I think levels. How many levels? How many levels would you give
I'm
this
gonna
one?
go 3.5 because it was cool that they were able to visit. It was cool they were able to get all the records and kind of put everybody on
The
blast.
kids that were involved, I
undergrad-
would give them a
Yeah,
4.
I'm maybe a 4, maybe even a 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really good how they went and found these people and confronted them and shook them down a little bit. And I think that the ball has rolled now where there might be more action taken against some of these guys. So good.
Yeah. I kind of agree.
Like a therapeutic process for these people, probably.
Yeah.
You know?
I kind of agree. I again would rather give the kids the ratings because I think what they've gone through and what they've actually turned out, the ones that they had, they did a good job of talking about that. And I hope they're in therapy because that crap is so awful. But again,
Terrible.
if your kids are bad, make them watch this. That's what we're sending
it's
you.
like
If you are a parent that are thinking about sending your kids somewhere,
watch this.
too.
Yeah, it's like
So
send
you
it
don't
to
wanna
school and they're like, they can't even talk about how bad it is because they know when they go back to the school it's going to be worse. So it's like, God, it was terrible, man.
So awful. I feel awful. I
Robbed childhoods, man.
Some of them, yeah, big time. And I don't think kids. There's got to be another way. What that way is, I don't know. That's why teachers are so amazing in my eyes because they have to deal with that crap every single day. So what are we watching next week? Well, we're going to check in with our old buddy, Robert Durst. There is a second part 2 to the Jinx documentary that we did, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, something like that.
5 years ago.
We're talking about the guy who likes to fart when he starts to lie and is currently in prison. Because
urinal confessions.
Yes, sir. We'll talk about old Robert Durst in the Jinx Part 2. Luckily, this is only 3 episodes, and we don't have to talk about kids. As always, you can watch us do this live on Facebook or YouTube every Thursday at 9 a.m. Listen to me during my show at the same time, do it live on the air. Jay does it at 6 p.m., or you can always listen to this as a podcast for free on our 104.7 The Cave app.
I did that like an airline stewardess describing the safety procedures.
Yeah, we need to work on it. That's good.
See what I was doing?
Yeah,
it was
good.
For the hearing impaired, I was doing it.
I appreciate it. I'm
Yeah.
Mike the Intern. That's Jay Banana is reminding you we watch movies.
No,
So you don't have to.
watch documentaries. So you don't have
on
to.
104.7 The Cave.